Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your daily tarot and astrology reading for Saturday, July 27th of 2024. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful start to your weekend. Let's go ahead and hop into today's transits and the cards so we can see how you can be better prepared to navigate these celestial energies. Three of Swords in reverse. Yeah, not the easiest card to deal with, but with it being in reverse, maybe we're making things harder than they need to be. Or maybe the way that we're kind of viewing things are harder than they need to be. Normally this card does speak to some type of heartbreak or heartache, but with it being in reverse, maybe, it's not as bad as we're making it out to be. Maybe it's all in our mind. Maybe it's a delusion. Or maybe, this could be a change of heart too. Maybe there's or an energy where it's like maybe you thought something was going to be better than it actually was, and you realize that the grass isn't greener on the other side, right? Let's get a little bit more clarity. Well, we have the Three of Wands in reverse. This does always speak to kind of looking out to see what's out there and going on the journey. But, I think that's really what this is about. Maybe the grass isn't as green on the other side, and maybe you got to the other side and you realize that it's not as green, or maybe it's just as green, or maybe that side has, I don't know, a tree that brings fruit that you don't necessarily like, maybe like the fruit of where you already were, So I think there's an element of like this whole wanting and wishing and pondering and thinking that there's something better out there for us, and there could be, but maybe it's not as glamorous as we hope it would be. Now, astrologically today, we do have the moon is going to be finishing up in Aries. It will conjunct Chiron like really early in the morning. Chiron, which I didn't mention this in my weekly horoscope, don't know how I missed it, but Chiron station retrogrades. So now we have Chiron that's also retrograde too. And the moon will enter into Taurus. It, of course, will square Pluto, trine Mercury, and we have a third quarter moon. Essentially where the moon is going to be in square to the sun in Leo. Now, I think this is going to be a very, very important third quarter square. I went really in depth on it on my weekly astrology horoscopes. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. But essentially, I do feel like there is this need for a synthesis of the old and the new, the traditional and the progressive. And we need to find the best of both worlds and actually bring them together. But right now, a lot of people are feeling, of course, that it's impossible to bring those things together with that Three of Swords. When realistically, if you even think about it, and I'll just draw like a picture real fast, right? Like, most people fall somewhere in here, right? On the bell curve of life. Most of us fall somewhere in here. Regardless of what your views are religiously, politically, or whatever, most people fall somewhere in the middle. Then you have, of course, your extremes, right? You have the extremes. Well, what's interesting about this is that it's the extremes that are the most hyped up. It is the extremes that, of course, carry with it the hyperbole. They are a lot more focused on is the extremes. But look at the small percentage. It's such a small percentage of the extremes, if you will. But most people fall somewhere here in the middle. We got to learn how to bring balance in this. And almost this actually does, if you look at a bell curve, it actually is the sign of Libra. If you really look at it. So we have to find some sort of balance in here. Now, of course, we have major eclipses coming up. So this is kind of like a bit of a precursor. Now, this third quarter square is going to be bringing up a lot of those things. This moon, of course, it's exalted in Taurus. The sun is at home in Leo. So it's actually a very positive square. But the difficult part is how are we going to be able to integrate these aspects? How can we emotionally ground ourselves, in a world that doesn't seem very grounded, especially with Uranus there, especially with everything that seems a bit chaotic, random out there. It's hard to ground yourself in that kind of world. I think if you continue to pay attention to the extremes and the hyperbole in life and all of the things that are sensationalized, which, like I said, it's only the extremes, it doesn't even take into consideration the 99.9% of people that are in the middle. It doesn't take that into consideration. It's almost like their voices are kind of lost there in the middle, and maybe in some areas we may be on the outside, maybe on the fringes. In some areas we may be a little bit more on the middle, right? But when you break it down, pretty much everyone's looking for the same thing. Everyone needs food, everyone needs water, shelter, companionship, friendship, purpose. Humans, when we break it down, we're pretty basic. Now, we're very complex, but we're pretty basic as far as like what we actually need and stuff. So I think, today's a day, as that moon finishes up in Aries and conjuncts this Chiron that is now stationed, you know, believe in yourself. Chiron in Aries, it is pretty simple. It's like, do you believe in yourself? Okay, just take a step. Like, you don't have to do too much. You know what I mean? You don't have to try and run the entire marathon. Just show up. Believe in yourself. With it being retrograde, yeah, people can start to doubt themselves. They can start to worry. They could be fearful of expressing who they really are and stuff like that. They can fall into victim mentalities. But you don't necessarily want to do that. Then I'll move into Taurus. We can feel a bit grounded, but yeah, we get a square to Pluto. That's not going to be easy. The collective already feels very, very frazzled right now, so it's going to be kind of hard to get grounded in this. And a lot of people are starting to emotionally kind of detach here and there. Emotionally detached, mentally detached. People are checking out. Like, it's a whole thing. People are. It's I'm seeing it more and more just through my observations. It's like it's easier to have mental breakdowns right now. It's easier to have emotional breakdowns right now. And with intense squares at a yard that is finishing up, would not be surprised if we just continue to see that. I think the way that we get through this is by, taking that deep breath, first of all, and just realizing that we signed up for this and this is the ride right now. And we have to acknowledge that, yes, we have some things that we have to finish up with the Pluto going back into Capricorn, but we are at the end of an era. So naturally, if you're at the end of an era, there's going to be some turmoil. There's going to be some intense energy. But you are more than equipped to handle this. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be here. Last card I have the Death card in reverse. This actually is interesting too because this does speak to the inability to transform or not wanting to transform. I don't see this as a bad thing. The Death card. I don't see it as a bad thing, but when it's in reverse, it's like the inability to transform and to kind of move through the times and to, it's the inability to acknowledge an ending, something that might be a finality, if you will. So it almost feels like a bit of delusion with all of these cards. I'll draw another card just because. I have the Hierophant. Yeah, I mean, I've been getting the Hierophant a lot, but I think this is about, you have to trust that inner guide, that inner wise person, you know what I mean? Especially right now, I think it's more and more important to really tap more into your own intuition, and to really start to follow that more. But as a collective, I think, we all there's probably some aspect that we were holding on to and not really wanting to let go of. But I think it's just acknowledging that it is done. We are at the end of an era. And that's okay. Humans have lived through many eras, will continue to live through many eras, and humans will continue to survive and thrive. Or we won't. But history has shown that we will continue to survive and thrive, even in the most dire of situations and outlooks. The card of chocolate. Wow. Nourish your body and soul. I think this is a day where you just really can't sweat you just can't you can't sweat the small stuff. As far as the big stuff goes, if you could do something about it, cool. If you can't, what the fuck ever. I think this is a day where we need to, like I said, tap more into. This is very Moon in Taurus, by the way. This is very Moon in Taurus. So maybe treat yourself to some chocolate. If you're allergic to chocolate, treat yourself to something else sweet. But I think we have to. So many people are trying to find the sweetness of life right now. Life to a lot of people probably tastes very, very sour, and there are lessons in sour. There are lessons in bitter. There are lessons in umami. There are lessons in salty, right? And all these different flavors. If you catch the metaphors that I'm trying to paint here, but you know, people are looking for the sweetness in life, and I think a lot of times people, especially right now, are waiting for the sweetness to come to them. Don't wait for the sweetness to come to you. Go get the sweetness. Like, who the fuck cares? Go get the sweetness. You don't need a per se reason or whatever like that to go do something. You don't have to wait for like a particular holiday. You don't have to wait for a birthday. Just go do it. You know, go. If you're in a relationship, go buy that person some flowers. Go buy them some chocolates. Do something nice for them. If you're not in a relationship, do something nice for yourself. You don't need a fucking reason. Just do it. Treat yourself. Take yourself out on a date. That's really what this is all about. It's like treat yourself, take care of your vibration, and everything will start to fall into place. I know things seem crazy right now. I know everyone's freaking out. We have like shoot. I even had a moment this week where I was like, I had anxiety and then it went away, and then I had more anxiety, then it went away. And turns out that was the day that Chiron station retrograded in my fifth house. I had no idea. I didn't. For some reason, I missed that during the horoscope. But when I learned about that, I was like, oh man, that makes sense. But I weathered those storms. I made it through. And you know what was one of the you know what the antidote was for that? Besides talking to my loved ones, they're able to, and I wasn't like freaking out, whatever like that. But besides just talking it out with them and stuff when I needed to, laughter, laughter, laughter is a great medicine. So if you ever find yourself, and this is outside the astrology, this is outside of the tarot, this is outside of all that stuff. If you ever find yourself in a moment where it just you're not really sure, find something to laugh about. It is a excellent medicine. That's going to do it for your daily astrology and tarot card reading for this Saturday, July 27th. I trust that this message will assist you on your journey today. If you did find this message at all helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. But y'all take care, stay blessed, have a wonderful Saturday, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all on the next reading. Peace.